Hello and welcome back to a demo video of Chapter 1. Now, in your homework, right, you have to do problem 1-4A and problem 1-6A. Well, guess what? This book has A and B problems. Guess what? A and B problems are identical in the sense of whatever you have to do, whatever A is asking you to do, B is asking you to do the same thing. Only difference is the numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the B problems, the corresponding B problems to your homework, okay? So you have to do problem 1-4A. I'm going to do, in this video, problem 1-4B. I'm going to show you how to set it up and go from there, okay? In the sake of time, I went ahead and kind of formatted this Excel spreadsheet. What I did was I made sure that this balance sheet has to be in proper form, right? Because that's what the problem's asking you to do. Prepare a balance sheet as of December 31st for each year. Prepare a statement of stockholders' equity just for 2016, okay? So what I did is I went in and I went ahead and said, okay, let me go ahead and put in my header, right? I just picked an arbitrary number of rows, said merge and center, typed in the company name, did the same thing for the comparative balance sheet part of the title, because that's what we're doing here, a comparative balance sheet 2016-2015, and I put the date as of 12/31/2016, okay? Then just to make it neater, I kind of merged and centered some cells. So please make sure that yours looks similar to this. Doesn't have to be spot on identical, but just make it look nice and neat. That's really all I'm asking for, okay? Notice I put the assets or the asset title right here, and I listed all my assets. Notice my assets are all left aligned. Notice I put a total row right after all the assets I indented. Notice how I set these up right here, okay? What we're doing, whenever we're adding numbers, we need to put a top border. And then once we foot a column, meaning that we're done with the row as far as the numbers above, we come up with an answer. We're not going to do anything with it. We need to foot that column and put the double bottom border. I'll show you what I mean in a second, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is, or the first thing I did, was I went through and I said, okay, I'm going to list my assets in order of liquidity, right? Which asset is going to be turned to cash first, second, third, and so forth, okay? So cash, obviously, is the most liquid asset we have. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my values for cash as of 2016 and 2015. If I look at the problem over here, I see that my cash for 2016 is 11,000. My cash for 2015, 12,000. So I'm going to come back and I'm just going to plug those numbers in. Sorry. So 11,000 and 12,000. Now, notice how the numbers look. They have a comma. I got rid of the decimal places. So make sure you do that. If you go to your ribbon underneath well, mine says custom right now, but if you go to the format number section on your ribbon and you just click the comma, that'll add your commas for you, okay? So the next thing we need to do is enter in our receivables. Okay, well, let me look at how much my receivables are. Accounts receivable for 2016 looks like it's 23,800. And for 2015, it's 19,500. Guess what? I'm going to enter those amounts in. So I come over here and I type in 23,800 and I type in 19,500. Okay. Next, I need to find my supplies because supplies are considered the third liquid asset on a balance sheet. Okay. So my supplies I see are 21,000 and 21,000. So it looks like our supplies nope, sorry, looked at the wrong, looked at notes payable. Supplies are 5,700 and 5,200. So I'm going to plug those in. 5,700, 5,200. Next, I need to look at my equipment, right? Net. Net means net of depreciation. We'll get into that later, okay? But that's what the net is referring to here. We just need to take the number as it is. So they're telling us that our assets are 33,000 in 2016 and 28,000 in 2015. I need to go put those on the balance sheet. So 33,000 and 28,000. Okay, good. Now I can add up my total assets. So I'm going to come up here to auto sum, and I'm going to come over here to auto sum, and looks like I didn't auto sum the correct numbers. Remember, do not auto sum the dates. There we go, much better. And we're going to do the same thing with 2015. We're good. Okay, so now underneath that, you notice I have the centered in the row here, liabilities and stockholders' equity. So I'm going to go ahead and first list my liabilities. Then I'm going to total out my liabilities, and then I'm going to list my stockholders' equity, which is made up of common stock and retained earnings. Now, I'm thinking right about now, you're probably saying, well, wait a minute. How can we do retained earnings when we didn't do the statement of shareholders' equity? Well, very easily. The reason why is because we know what our assets are. We know that assets need to equal liabilities plus shareholders' equity. We know the amount of all our liabilities. We know the amount of the common stock. We know how much liabilities and shareholder stock should equal. So we can figure out what the retained earnings are without even doing a retained earnings sheet, okay, or statement of retained earnings. So my accounts payable for 2016, if I go and look, tells me they're 2,800 and 2,600 respectively. So I'm going to enter those, 2,800, 2,600. I'm going to do the same thing with my notes payable. What are my notes payable? Well, they tell me that notes payable in 2016 are 21,000 and they're 21,000 in 2015. So I'm going to go ahead and enter those. Okay. I can now go ahead and put in my my bottom border to show that, bear with me here for 1 second. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to, oh, I put those in the wrong spot. I apologize. It's kind of small on my end. Okay. Get rid of those. Okay. Notes payable again were 21,000 and 21,000. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put my single border, bottom border, and I'm going to calculate what are my total liabilities. So if I click auto sum, I see my total liabilities are 23,800 for 2016. 2015, they're 23,600. Okay. Now I need to figure out what's my common stock. Well, common stock is $6,000 each for each year. Okay, so I'm going to plug those in. 6,000, 6,000. Okay. So now I can figure out what my retained earnings are. Okay. Very simple. I know that 23,000 plus 6,000 plus X needs to equal $73,500. I know this has to be $73,500 total liabilities and retained earnings, right? Has to be. I just realized that should be stockholders' equity, not retained earnings. I apologize. There, that looks better. Okay, so I know that this total number has to be $73,500. So I can calculate my retained earnings for 2016. I say equals. I'm just going to use this total asset number minus my total liabilities minus my common stock. I see that my retained earnings for 2016 is $43,700. Well, let me make sure that I did this correctly. So to calculate total liabilities and shareholders' equity, I take my total liabilities plus my stockholders' equity, which is plus my common stock plus my retained earnings. Assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. They're both $73,500. I am good. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for 2015, right? I know that for 2015, my total liabilities and stockholders' equity has to equal $64,700. I'll subtract out my total liabilities, subtract out my common stock, and I see that my retained earnings for 2015 are $35,100. I want to make sure I'm right. I'm a little anal when it comes to spreadsheets. Again, I'm a nerd. I think they're super cool. So I'm going to add my total liabilities plus my common stock plus my retained earnings. Yep, did it right. Assets are $64,700 in 2015, which equals my total liabilities and stockholders' equity of $64,700. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my statement of retained earnings. Okay. The first thing we need to start with, remember I said in an earlier video, one period's ending balance is the next period's beginning balance, right? Said that. Okay. So I know that my 2015 retained earnings are $35,100. I know that. Okay. I know that from this 2015, I'm going to add net income, subtract out my dividends. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say add net income. Well, I don't know what my net income is, right? I'm going to subtract out my dividends. I know for a fact that my dividends, if I look at my problem over here, dividends are $13,000 in 2016. So I'm going to put that in. Dividends I'm going to put a negative 13,000. Okay. I know that in 2016, my retained earnings at the end of the year is $43,700. I know that. So I can figure out what my net income is very, very, very easily, right? Just doing simple algebra, right? I know if I start off with 35,100 plus X minus 13,000 has to equal $43,700. Okay. So if I just run the numbers, I find out that my net income for 2016, because that's all we have to figure out, is $21,600. Okay. Well, let me see if I'm right. Am I really right? Well, equals 35,100 plus my net income of $21,600. I'm going to say plus my dividends. Why? Because I put my dividends in as a negative, but normally I would subtract those. Gives me $43,700, which is my ending balance. So I'm good. I'm good here. I'm perfect. Okay. So that's how you do this exercise, or this is how you're going to do your problem 1-4A. I'm going to come back in another video and guess what I'm going to do? Problem 1-6B, which is going to correspond to your problem 1-4A. So thanks for tuning in.